right, it says we are good to go. We got the official thumbs up. So yes, that means we will get the party started. So hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining from. My name is Jessica Siegel, and I am coming to you here from Atlanta. I'm a volunteer with L&D Cares, and so delighted to be spending time with the session this morning with Abinaya Natesan. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Didn't butcher it too. Fantastic. It's always a personal goal of mine. All right, so a few housekeeping things if you guys have not been too familiar with AirMe. Oh, look at that, right on cue. So if you're not familiar with the reactions button on the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little smiley face. So if a bee says something that resonates with you or you agree with, you can use the heart button. If it sparks an idea, use the little light bulb, thumbs up, whatever it might be. So feel free to use those reactions as a way to interact throughout. And then also use the welcome everyone. So I just typed the message in the chat for the session. So if you have any questions or comments as we are going through the presentation, please feel free to use the chat and interact with that. And with that, just for sake of time, I'm going to turn her over to Abby because I know she had a poll she wanted to start with. So I'll let her explain the poll and then introduce herself and go ahead and get started. So I'm just going to hang out in the background until you get started, Abby.
Thanks, Jessica. Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming to this session. So thanks for the great introduction as well. So to give an intro to add on that, so I started my journey as an engineer. So among my 9 years of work experience, 50% have been in manufacturing and 50% in learning and development. So this particular journey or discussion that we are going to have will be about me sharing the concepts and terminologies and processes that I have learned in manufacturing and how it can be utilized in learning and development to improve the efficiency. That is the reason for this complex title, as you can see. And to start with, I have a poll that I have already published. So just wanted to pick your mind on what you think about lean management or lean thinking. So please go to the polls and try to give your answers. While while we are at it, I'll just get started with the
Yeah, so to find the poll, if you look where your chat is on the right-hand side, there's also a polls tab as well. So if you select polls, you will see the one poll that's published and should be able to select an answer if you haven't used a poll yet today.
Awesome. So I can see a few responses already. So I can see that some of you have already applied lean thinking in your job, which is really great. So whenever we have an interaction, you can provide your insights as well. And some of you have responded that you have come across the terminology, which is again good because you will be able to relate to this presentation in a much better way. So without further delay, I'll just get started. So this 20 minutes, I'm just going to walk through it like a journey. So first, I'll let you know why this topic was chosen by me and why I decided to go through this particular path. And then I'll tell you what lean thinking is about and how it is helping to bridge time and quality. Then we will have an interesting part about the success stories that lean has helped in implementing. And then finally, what we can take away from these concepts that we are going to discuss today for our daily productivity. So at any time, if you have any questions or points to add on, please feel free to add it in the chat. So, yeah. So I have also tried to, justify this journey with this topic. So we will be discussing upon how we can improve the quality of our deliverables, our learning and development deliverables, by bridging time and quality using the lean concepts. So the core of our presentation today will be the lean thinking process. So the reason for this topic being crucial at this particular time is because of the frequent scenarios that we usually face. So, the first thing is, have you ever started learning a tool and months after felt that the tool you learned is outdated? Because, in learning industry, we have lots of tools like course authoring tools, the learning management systems, data analytics, and so on. The moment that you start learning a tool, like after 3 months or so, somehow it becomes outdated, and you feel there is a pressure for you to learn more or learn a new tool. And there are also scenarios where you would have developed a course, so you would have developed this with a certain design elements in mind, with niche graphics and so on, and suddenly after 3 months the entire graphical designer arena decides to change the design, and they kind of have this flashy designs coming up, and your course now looks outdated. And the third frequent scenario that we face is, these days we are all more accustomed to getting data. So each and every deliverable that we provide, either it being a learning media or a learning solution or a training, we are supposed to provide a return of investment for all these kind of solutions. So these kind of scenarios are some things that we face on a daily basis. So these kind of challenges have been there in the other industries, in the parallel industries like automotive industries or manufacturing industries for quite some time, which is to consolidate rapid innovation, need to adopt, increased customer focus, and tangible results. So, having said that, the need for us to be more agile on a day to day basis has become, sorry, increasingly more a pressure point for all the learning and development media specialists these days. So that is the reason I thought, why shouldn't we look at the other industries who have been successful in rapidly innovating, in adapting fast, and achieving customer quality? So, what are the concepts that they have used in their industries that we can adopt in our day to day learning and development projects, as well as to our teams and organizations if possible? So, that's the reason we are going to talk about the lean thinking process and lean management and few of the tools in which has been very successful in the automobile and manufacturing industry and some of the creative industries as well. So, yep. So I'm a very traditional person where I like to start with a history of what everything is all about. So you might have heard of the lean management concept or lean thinking concept. So it originated in World War II, with the primary focus on eliminating the waste. So in Japanese terminology, which is called as Muda, and the primary focus of that was to create value for the end customer by reducing the waste in the process and in the product. So lean management, as it is when it was originated, it was applied. It was called as Toyota Production System, and it was more of automobile focused. But eventually, in the same decade, people of service industry thought that this has to be adopted to service industries as well, and they came up with the terminology of lean thinking. So lean thinking was first coined by Omak, and he has a very good book written around it. And in that, all he talks about is how waste in the systems can be eradicated as much as possible. And the to shorten it to with a catchy phrase, he talks about how we can do more with less. So the three pillars around which lean is anchored upon is delivering value, eliminating waste, and continuous improvement. So these three core concepts, on just by seeing it, we can realize that anytime this can be applied to any industry. So, even though it all started with manufacturing and automobile, slowly the logistics industry as well as the supply chain industry started embracing the lean technology and lean management systems, and they have come a long way from there. So today, I'm not going to talk about the theoretical things behind lean thinking or the tools, because each and every lean tool is worth of 40 minutes talking and a training, and there are lots of materials available, and I'm sure you would be able to find more time to distill on that. So my idea here is to just let you know about a success story, the available concepts. So if any of these things instills interest in you, you can go back and do a little research and try to adopt these concepts in your day-to-day work management or in your projects. So yeah, like I said, it's all about reducing the processes that don't bring value to any of the product. So, the core concept of lean, as it says in its definition, is to remove the unwanted waste in the system. On seeing these wastes, so like I said, all these wastes that they have defined. So, Taichi Ono was the person who defined all these back in the World War II times. So, while he defined all these terminologies were coined based on the automobile and manufacturing. But I do feel that some of these wastes we frequently face in our creative processes, in our learning and development processes, in learning media development and everything. So, which of these wastes do you think that is very relevant to our day-to-day work or the projects that we work on? So, just created another poll. You can answer in that, and while you are answering, I'll just see the chat comments of awesome. Thank you. It's great that some of you find this interesting. Yes, agile. Agile is another interesting concept that we are also going to talk about it today. So while working through this, I couldn't help, you know, relating all these concepts to agile. Yeah, I can see two of you have voted waiting. I completely agree. So the transportation, inventory, and motion are more, physically related to the workstations in manufacturing, whereas we physically don't have workstations. All a creative process that goes through in our mind. So the frequent ways that I feel that happens in our processes are waiting, which I 100% agree with you because we have to wait for all the other stakeholders involved in the project to get one deliverable moving from one phase to the other phase. And the second is over processing and over production. Even a couple of speakers in our conference yesterday were talking about how we always aim to achieve more, which really is not required at all the time, because the amount of time and effort spent in a particular deliverable has to reach the audience. That's the ultimate goal. It's not about doing so much of things like we create a very complex learning media just for a 2 minute video or something. So over processing and over production is also something that I feel has been happening again and again in the learning and development space, and along with defects, which is like which is common in all the industries, not only in manufacturing but in every other thing. That's the reason that we have rapid prototyping, or we have multiple iterations in our development processes itself. So lean talks about using multiple tools to reduce these kind of wastes, how we can reduce all these wastes. And from the tools that those are available, we can pick up those tools which will help us in reducing all these four wastes that we frequently face. And the concepts and tools that come with lean thinking are, there are like a bunch of tools, like seven famous tools, and then other tools that might be very useful to us. But we are just going to talk about two, three tools today because that's where the success stories are going to lead to us. So one is PDCA. So the plan, do, check, and act cycle. So this has been there over for like 4 to 5 decades now, and it has been very successful. So this aims at continuous improvement. So it starts in the plan stage, and then that is where we understand the current situation, and then we go to the do stage, which is more of design and development in our cases, and then the check and act. So the act part is the one that is very important, I feel, because it's where you get to criticize your own product and collect feedback and then improve, which will root into the sustainability of the product. So this act stage, even in the learning and development arena, is a very, very important part. Then comes the Kanban system. So Kanban system is a very famous system, and it has been very successful that it has been adopted by all the project management tools these days. So it's a simple visualization system used for primarily used for inventory management, and now used for project management. So we have a visual board in which we will be able to see the worklets moving from one phase to another phase, and it goes after the introduction of agile process management, I should say. Agile has adopted many of the kanban's tools and techniques. And the third one, I would say this is more of a group. I have just grouped all the other tools into the third one, which is there are kaizen, you have fires, we have value stream mapping, and so many other tools that are used in manufacturing, which has been very successful so far. So, like I said, the PDCA and Kanban I really think is very relevant to learning and development, and these can be implemented to achieve to bridge a gap between the time and quality constraints that we face on day to day time. So yeah, having I kind of went fast in letting you know about the lean thinking processes. The reason is because there's a big story I want to share. So this is story time. There was one creative agent who successfully creative giant who successfully implemented lean thinking, and I think their products are quite famous. So any guesses from what we by the image that I have shared, who that creative giant is? Yes, you got that right. It's Pixar. So let's go to the Pixar story and how they implemented the lean management system. So Edward Catmull, who was the co-founder of Pixar, after the success of Toy Story in 1995, he started thinking how he could anticipate the risks for his company, um, to avoid a downfall that the other industries in the Silicon Valley was facing. So, growing tired of the empty management techniques, he happened to stumble upon Edward Deming's management principles, which were nothing but the lean management principle. So he believed that the idea of unhindered communication was very important in the creative process, and Pixar always had an open mind for philosophy of improvements, and they focused on two key things which are also the essence of lean thinking, which is value delivery to the customers and efficiency. So both of these things Ed considered that it was very important. So based on that, he tried to restructure certain things around the organization to have a streamlined communication. So you can read more about this in the Creativity INC, but I'm going to provide you a gist of this story, which will be useful to us. So all of Pixar's lean practices were implemented because they truly valued their customers. And considering their wide range of customers, they were like from 4-year-old to 50-year-old who would watch Toy Story, right? So they had a wide range of customer, and customer focus was of primary important to them, because even a small character that is appearing only for 2 seconds, they had to put so much of thinking process into it, and that led them to have enormous lead time over each and every animated characters. So the first thing that Ed did was to reorganize his physical office. So what he did was he felt that the communication was not straight or it was not connected. So he the first thing he did was to have his office in the center of the physical organization, which made him connected to all the other creative processes around. So that was one simple example. There are also other examples where he even tried to restructure the tables, because certain tables kind of unknowingly implemented a hierarchy, and he hated that because there wasn't a smooth communication. So this interesting lean journey of Pixar led them to success in the subsequent years as well. So this was more of a top-down approach, and here you can see one success statement which Ed has stated by himself. So moving on, the in the lean implementation process, the primary tool that he used was the implementation of Kanban boards. So, in addition to that, he also created story rooms, which were kind of the workstations that the Japanese management systems talked about. So, this creative story rooms were the hubs where the inception, the ideas of all the characters were discussed upon, because that was also very important for their processes. And it again emphasized on having a full on communication. So Kanban was used to develop the initial idea until it was fully animated. For them, it was a great way of predicting a process which is usually unpredictable. So, and he also famously quoted in his book that efficiency is a goal, but quality is the goal. So, uh, for there is also an interesting story about a penny, beautiful penny, and how long it took for them to just make it perfect. So which essentially talks about how quality focused they were. So since this was being a top down approach, every creative process was supposed to have a physical Kanban board. So what they did was they had these boards in their workstations, and one of the leaders there, he came up with a popsicle system, a simple popsicle system, to let other people know what is the workload that has been assigned for each and every character. So, just taking the Incredibles example, if there were like 12 animators working on a particular project, the director would go upon the board and stick the popsicles based on their work week. So, just by looking at it, any resource would know how much working hours are spent for each and every character. So this made them visually analyze and brainstorm on why a particular character is taking so much time. So in this example, they would discuss on like why Elastic Girl is taking 5 animators to do the job for the week. And not only that, just in case if there is a critical task popping up, they would simply remove the popsicle and paste it in another board, letting the subsequent processors know that there is going to be a delay. So just by visualization, everybody in the process became aware that there were fixed resources that's going to be delay. So there was a clear communication laid upon based on the Kanban boards concept. So this became so successful that Pixar later introduced the process, a small technique called Pixar pitch. So even outside of their creative studios, they used lean coaches to bring in this concept to any of their new hires or new people in the organization. So what they would do is they would essentially ask questions that would trigger them to think that Kanban is very necessary. Like they would ask, what is the character all about? Why did it go wrong? Like how much time was spent? What could have been done better? So by answering those questions, any person new to the organization would realize that, okay, so this is the process gap that I'm having right now. So based on that, this visualization tool is going to help me, and they will come up with their own Kanban boards. So they successfully implemented this, and it has also stood the challenge of time. And the Kanban board system was really appreciated by their other creative parallels as well. So, if you want to learn more about this, his book is called Creative INC, which was co authored by Amy Wallace. So, you can read about that to know more about how Pixar successfully adopted Lean into the creative processes. So, any thoughts or questions over that before I go to the Lean L&D? What is your opinion on Pixar's?
I love the Pixar example. Just want to pop in and let you know I don't know how it's flying by, but we are down to like our last 5 minutes.
Thank you. Yeah, sure. I just have the gist of Pixar story, so it's not going to take much time.
Perfect. Time flies when you're having fun. That is accurate.
Thank you. Thanks, John. So yeah, coming back to Lean and L&D, I'm just going to consolidate what we have discussed so far. So from the story, we can see that Kanban implementation have been very successful, and it's not very complicated as it what appears, because all the project management tools that we use, the creative arena users, have already adopted to the Kanban board views. And so the ADDIE process that we use is not very different from the PDCA cycle that we talked about. Both have been originated in the same time, and likewise Agile as well. So all these three have been is not mutually exclusive, rather than they have taken concepts from one another. So I would say we get creative and combine these concepts and customize this to define our own project timelines and milestones. So this is an example of my project milestone and how I have tried to implement PDCA. So even though it has the ADDIE framework, I always use the ACT stage at the last, so that it goes on iteration, for the sustainability of the deliverable that we do. Likewise, I also implement some part of Agile, rapid prototyping, so that this also goes into the cycle. And like I said, Kanban. So every project management tool that you use, like for example, Asana, Monday, or Monday.com, or any other tool that you use, they have a great Kanban board view. It's just that it's underutilized. We have to start embracing that to make sure that each and everybody has their own responsibility, and the timelines are matched, and any kind of unwanted activities can be cut down, or the time spent in that can be cut down. So yeah, the question that you have to ask is, how much of Kanban do you already do in your job? I'm pretty sure that many of us would have already implemented Kanban in our systems. We might not have realized that, but it's just like, cooking with the ingredients that you know. If you know the flavors of the ingredients, then you would get the best taste out of it. So it's best to know what are the concepts underlying in the tools that we use, so that we can best use and maximize the utilization of the tools. So this is, I just took a screenshot from my work panel. So this is how my Kanban looks like. I would encourage you to use any one of the free tools that's available. So you have Asana, you have Rike, Trello, ClickUp, Monday. So you can download the free versions of any of these tools if you haven't already, and try to extract the concept of Kanban in that, and see how effectively you can manage your projects. And here is also a link that provides you an offline version of your own Kanban project. And yeah, so to consolidate, have a plan always, follow the PDCA, and implement the three concepts. Use the tools that we have discussed to maximize the efficiency of your projects. And please always refer to the parallel industries for their success stories. Just like Pixar, I'm sure in our day to day life also, we would be able to implement many other concepts to derive quality, and to even provide data, provable data, and be successful about it. So I think that's all from me.
Absolutely. Well, we are perfect on timing. So that was great. You must have rehearsed, and we are right on time. So that's always a great
Thank you.
thing.
I think I
Um,
went over. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. We are just perfect. We are just perfect. I loved your Pixar example. I feel like that resonates with so many people. And what I love about the Kanban, what you were talking about, is just the visualization, because so many people, whether you're more analytical and tactical or you're visual, it can speak to both of you, right? Because it's talking about resources and analyzing the resources. But then for those that are more visual, it's also visual as well. So I think it just works for a lot of people with a lot of learning preferences and styles. It really, I could see it working well across a lot of places and
Thanks.
spaces.
Thanks, Jessica. Thank you. Thanks, John, for your encouraging comments as well. I hope others found something useful in my discussion today.
Yeah, I'd never heard of ClickUp. I'm keeping in all these sessions, and like I have my little paper that I keep jotting down notes. I'm like, what's ClickUp? I don't know. I'm gonna have to look that one up as well.
Yeah, eh,
Um, all right.
these are
Well,
all great tools.
so with that, thank you so much to Abby. We are just at time and want to clear out so the next sessions can go ahead and get started. So if you are looking for other sessions, it looks like there are activities on both of the tracks and sessions following all afternoon. So feel free to join and we'll see you in some of those. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Abby.